Amen. And I forgot to write down where I stopped. Where did I stop? 112? 113? Okay. Gotta write that down. Wow, we still got another 60 or so verses to go. Awesome. Anybody getting tired of doing Psalm 119? It's my favorite. I could read Deuteronomy and Psalm 119 all day. Basically, we're going to read Deuteronomy all day tomorrow. Okay, so we go. All right. Well, not all day, at least in the morning. All right, so this is the part we call the Afterburn. If you have comments or questions, we're going to bring around a microphone. Rob will take your comments and questions on the live stream. We'll try to handle as many as we can. It is now 5:45. Good, I left myself a little bit of time. All right? So, who wants to go first with a comment or question? Okay, Sierra.
Talk about the difference between, in Psalms 119.
Hold it right up by your mouth.
119, 105, where it talks about the light being, the word being light for us. Why is it in lowercase letters as opposed to John 1:14, where it would be in uppercase letters, and John 1:7?
Okay, the simple answer is totally arbitrary decision by translators. Okay, there are no capital letters in Hebrew, and there are no capital letters in Greek either. And so it's the translator trying to make an emphasis, and that's why you'll find capitals for like he or you when we're referring to the Creator. It's just a way for us to kind of know who's being discussed here. So obviously the translators here in Psalm 119 did not make the connection between light here. Okay? He says, your lamp is, your word is a lamp unto my feet and a light to my path. The translator, and I agree, it's not a bad translation to just put a lowercase L there because it does illuminate the path. So it doesn't need to be, but I'm helping you as a teacher connect it that way. Okay?
And then that brought me to John 1, I think 8 and 9, where it talks about where Yeshua was not actually, he pointed to the true light, which was...
Yeah, John said he was pointing to Yeshua, the true light.
Okay.
All right. If you listen to the beginning of Do You Know the Father and the Son, I go through chapter 1 of John very thoroughly. Okay?
Thank you.
You're welcome. All right? I mean, I go through pretty much all the way to, actually, almost the whole 20 or so verses, but certainly up to 14, we cover very clearly, break that down. Actually, in a lot of teachings, but that's a good question. But understanding John 1, verses 1 through 14 is very, very critical to understanding this whole thing. Okay? Next. On this side.
Hi, my name's Rocky. Hi, everyone.
Hey, Rocky.
Howdy. I'd like to thank you just for your persistence of your choices you've made in your life to get to the place where you're at today. It makes me look at my own self, that the power that I had within inside of myself and really haven't really realized it until, I think, really recently, the power of choice. That's the most powerful thing that I have. And as I grew up, I wanted to have more responsibility, but as I got older, I realized, man, I just want to be a kid again. Would someone else make a decision for me? Because I was scared to death to make some major decisions, and I was so afraid to be wrong. But and then when I made such bad decisions and put such a hurt on my life and others, I didn't really want to accept that. I wanted to blame others, And you touched at the end there about reality, and the closer that I am to my Creator, the more the reality is revealed to me. It's just shocking. Thank you. Thank you.
Oh, you're very welcome. I'm very glad that that's worked out for you. Appreciate that.
Well, I hope I made sense with my 2 remaining brain cells that I have.
No, it made total sense. Appreciate that. Look, and we have another teaching that addresses that, making decisions, the reason you exist. I mean, the whole point of your existence is to make choices. Moses tells you that in Deuteronomy 30 when he says, I lay before you life and death as a choice. He says, choose life. Okay? All right, my daughter had written a song we got to sing on Yom Kippur. It was called I Choose. Okay? She, that was in relation to understanding all the things that I've taught about. She gets a lot of the stuff that she does out of the teachings. Who's next on this side? Okay, Richard.
Well, thanks, Rocky, because you perfect lead into what I was looking at. And I think the reason for that is because that's what the rabbi's trying to tell us.
Keep the mic right up at your mouth.
When I looked at this, my favorite part of the Bible is the doing in the book of James. And when you relate James to 1:19 and see how King David puts the doing down for us, it's really quite simple. And I wish it was easy as well. But what I noticed is that in 109, what it takes to stay is using the Torah as the guidebook for the doing, which goes into those choices making. And I have the battle scars of not making the right choices. So I was sitting here listening to you, and I thought about the doubts and how that's always based in fears, not real fears, but false fears, and how important it is for me to maintain the Torah as my guide for mastery, because the weakest part of me is self. And if I can get that out of there and stay focused on Torah, my life's always good. So I hope that makes some kind of sense. It did to me.
Amen. Okay, you know what? For whatever reason, you stimulated a thought that I think might be useful here. When we are, if you think about the whole process, you're born, you have parents, then you go into some sort of a school system or whatever you're going to do, even if it's homeschooling, and then you get a job and you move around. If you are responsible purely without any guidance to only make all your choices yourself, what a hard and scary place that is. And a lot of us really are kind of there. But yet, when we come into this, because of bad experiences with leadership and other things like that, we find it very hard and we're very reluctant to find that kind of a vertical structure to actually get in, especially for the men. The ladies find it a lot easier, especially the uncovered ladies, the single ladies. They will come and say, I need this, please, can you do this for me? I need to know I have somebody I can turn to and ask questions. The guys are a lot too prideful most of the time to do that. But as Richard said, it could be really rough if you feel like, I've got to make all those choices on my own and I have nobody to go to. I've got no guidance. I've got no where to get, correction from, or to be told, no, that's not the right way to go, or yeah, you're on the right track. But that's why the structure is in place. That's why he created that structure. And yet it's the most underutilized part of the whole thing. Because after all, in the structure, you may get corrected and you don't want that. But you should want that. As a matter of fact, that's the thing you need the most, is loving correction. But it doesn't feel loving. I didn't say you had to feel loving. It's got to come from a loving place. Father says, the Creator says, he disciplines those he loves like a father disciplines a son. How does a father discipline a son? Sometimes he grabs him by the neck and kind of gives him a swack. Because that was what was going on back in those days. Not like a father disciplines a son in 2020. Okay? So he's telling you back in the time when a father disciplined a son, a father disciplined a son. Now this structure doesn't do that to you, but it's a voluntary submission. And so I want to encourage the guys, you need that. All right? Ladies, keep praying that your husbands will get that. For all you singles, I think this would be a good time to mention it. If you marry anybody where both of you are not under a leader and both submitted to that leader, you are foolish. Because all those that are married now where one is under the leader and the other isn't are already struggling, and they know it, and you'll hear them tell you how much they struggle. But if they're both under, guess what? They can both go to that leader and get guidance, and that leader can correct both of them or give them counsel about whatever it is, and they'll both listen and things will get better. I gave that example earlier during prayer time with that one couple, right? Because they both were willing to do that. So if you're single now, if you're going out there looking for love in all the wrong places, I'm telling you, it's a wrong place. If you're not, oh, but their Torah doesn't matter. If they're not the same teacher, you're going to have a problem. Why? Because you will have no one to help you otherwise. Oh, but we love each other. We'll never have a problem. Bring reality into that little deal. You will have a problem. Because you're going to get married and you're still going to be a man and a woman for a while until you figure out how to be a man who becomes a husband and a woman who becomes a wife. Because a husband and wife can do this perfectly. Man and a woman will struggle and struggle and struggle. I promise you, that is the problem. And so, yes, when you get married, you will not automatically be magic wand into a husband and a wife. Even though you will be pronounced husband and wife. We need to change that part of the ceremony. Just pronounce you married, hoping you'll become husband and wife. Calling you husband and wife seems kind of dumb at that point. Because you have no idea what that is. You just got married. Oh, but I've been married before. You know even less. Did I say that out loud? I'm sorry.
Yes, you did.
All right, so just take that as, what it is. Okay, on this side, anybody?
Okay, so I had two thoughts. I wanted to make sure I was understanding this correctly. I wrote down, what does mastery of Torah look like? Is it when you fully trust during your baptism of fire? So does that look like no matter whatever trials or affliction that comes, that you are just always having shalom? Is that what the mastery of Torah is?
Well, no, I mean, mastery is going to have all of the aspects of the things. It's going to have in it that you're mastering the doing. It's going to be that you're mastering the discipline of the not doing. It's going to be mastering the shalom and understanding and trusting of emunah, that when you're in a trial, what it's for. Okay, that the trial's there to get your attention, to go move forward. It's testing you to see how far you've come in your growth. So that it's a very full, look, when you go to college, you're learning to master things beyond what you had in high school. Then you want to maybe get a master's degree. Now they're going to take that understanding to another level. This is the most full comprehensive mastery program of all time. It's going to take every aspect of your life. So it's everything you said and a bunch of stuff you didn't say. Okay?
Thank you. And then also for Psalm 107, it says, I have been afflicted very much. O Yahweh, revive me according to your word. And I just have a praise about that because I know you know my situation with the recent afflictions, but my praise as well. That whole revive me according to your word, I really had to remind myself not to get depressed. I was really wanting to get out of the whole bartending scene, but I had to be honest with myself. You told me to own it. So I own the fact that, I do like the money I'm making. I do like, just kind of being here, even though I know I shouldn't have. So Abba really kind of disciplined me by just basically pulling the rug off from under me. But then the whole revival was just so great because I had to remember his word that it's there's no reason why I would be suffering if I'm basically following his commands. And that definitely showed through this past week. So,
Amen.
Hallelujah.
All right, thank you, Ati. And she said Psalm 107, but she meant verse 107 from Psalm 119. That's okay, just in case anybody's trying to look up what you were talking about. Okay, on this side?
Shalom, Rabbi.
Shalom.
Shalom, family.
Remind them who you are.
I'm Joffrey, and this is my wife, Crystal, and we are now officially here in Tennessee.
Amen.
Glad to be here. As you were teaching, Rabbi...
Thank you, Crystal.
Thank you. That's my helpmate. As you were teaching, I was listening, and the verses from 99 to 105, immediately I thought of the word discipleship. And also I was thinking of Rabbi Shaul, who was instructing Timothy. And when he told Timothy, do not let anyone despise your youth. Now, nowhere in Scripture are any of us called adults. We're all children. We're all instructed by Torah, by the word of Yah. And in that, Shaul also instructs him to be careful to follow my manner of life, my doctrine, my what was my notes? My doctrine, my manner of life, my purpose, my faith and long-suffering, love and perseverance. And all those, from those verses from 99 to 105, describe, I think Paul encapsulates all of that in that simple verse. Kind of a 1-2 punch in instruction to Timothy,
Sure.
which Timothy is usually a pastoral epistle, but I think it's an actual instruction for all of us. And so that's what I noticed there.
Well, if you consider that all of us are looking to be discipled on some level, then yes.
Correct.
Okay, absolutely.
Okay.
Thank you, Joffrey. Appreciate it. Okay, on this side,
Shabbat Shalom, Rabbi.
Shabbat Shalom, Michelle.
In 97, oh, how I love your Torah. That's my study all day long. I have free time. And in my free time, I study your teachings. I study his word. I read his word. And like about a month before I was invited to come to Sukkot, those doubting thoughts from verse 113 started to creep in. And I went back to your baptism of fire teaching. And it just totally wiped me back to verse 97. And I just want to thank you for the revelations I get from the teachings. But in my studies, I have also learned that if I patiently endure through whatever afflictions and trials, that I'm going to see his lamp. You know, I'm going to see that light at the end of it.
Amen.
And I always hit my knees and I tell him, thank you for that trial because it's brought me through stronger. And I just want to thank you for all your teachings.
Amen. Amen. Thank you. All right, so your point combined with Ati's point and also even with Joffrey's point, the idea of a mastery, my teachings are meant to be essentially a mastery program. In other words, they're not just interesting or topical to whatever's going on in the world or whatever. They're meant to give you what's necessary to master all of the different aspects of what he has put in this book. And so, you know, that's why, for example, when I get a question like Sierra asked about light, I have a teaching to help you understand that in a thorough way. Or a question about John chapter 1. Okay, we have that in a teaching. So the grace or our covenant or salvation, they're all meant so that you can master all of the essentials. That's what all the teachings are meant to be usable by you today. Okay? Every teaching is meant to be usable in some aspect by everyone the day they hear it. As opposed to, well, that's interesting. I don't know if I'll ever use that. It's kind of like a lot of you were thinking when you were taking trigonometry. What am I ever going to use that for? Okay? So this is for everyone. The scriptures are for everyone, and I'm helping you as your teacher understand how you can apply it today. Amen? Amen. So well played. Well put. Who's next? All right, this side. Oh, you double dipping?
I'm so sorry to double dip, but when you were saying that, it just made me think about when we have to circumcise our heart. Like, that's also an action of doing. So just because we have a heart doesn't mean it's going to be,
That's right.
oh, someone circumcised my
That's
heart.
right.
Like, we have to do it.
Right. We're not waiting for him just to wave his magic hand and all of a sudden you have everything's changed. You have to go through experiences that make you choose to change. Okay, on this side, Gary, you got anybody? Miss Janet Hoffman, everybody. It's about time you asked a question.
I have two questions, if you
Two
allow
questions,
me.
okay.
Appreciate it, Rabbi. Thanks for your patience, always with me. Verse 1:8, when it says, the voluntary offerings of my mouth, is that, I guess I wanted to know what does that mean? I know about the offerings for the feasts and.
No, when he's saying voluntary offerings of my mouth, he's saying, look, I am without compulsion, free will, choosing to say the things I'm saying. Okay? These are from my heart without pressure or compulsion or obligation. They're voluntary, what comes out of my mouth. Just like the voluntary offerings that we did in the temple days, those are things that you did out of your own choice to do them. They were not compulsory. There were compulsory offerings. There were also voluntary offerings. He's saying, this is a voluntary offering from my mouth. Okay.
Thank you. All right, now that's a deeper question. I have verse 101. You were talking about discipline, and we needed to restrain ourselves. And this big question for me was like, how can we become disciplined? But that whole theme about mastery, discipline, it got me thinking about people who actually are very self-disciplined, like martial arts people, who develop a really high level in the martial arts. And we love to watch actually martial art movies. It made me think about, how several students, they really admire and honor their teachers, their whatever the name is. And so I've thought, with the mastery, there is no way to get there without somebody like you, in our case, teaching us, guiding us through it. Is that how you see it? You also, in terms of mastering Torah, there's no way to do it without that teaching process and relationship?
Yes. Well, let me kind of repackage that maybe so in a way that'll be easier to understand. Okay, so all top performers, whether it be in any discipline, we call them disciplines, whether it's in art or in music or in business or whatever, okay, or in marriage or anything, it takes two very simple things. But the first one is what you're talking about, like, well, how do you develop discipline? This discipline is a tool that's only useful and only usable when the desire is there. You have to want something bad enough. So, for example, if I were to get a room full of students to be apprenticed or taught, whether it's an instrument of music or art or martial arts or something, right? It could be anything that I'm going to train them to do. The ones that are going to want it the most are the ones that are going to discipline themselves to do it. Okay? So it comes out of the motivator of desire. David said, this is my joy. I love it. I desire it. And because of that, I choose to discipline myself because of how much I want it, knowing that if I don't, I won't get it. Okay? You tell the child, if you can just restrain yourself from this, or this, for this period of time, I will give you this carrot that I'm offering you. A trip to an amusement park or something you were going to buy for them. But then all of a sudden, they become disciplined. Okay? If you could just stay quiet in the car on this long trip for the next blah, 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 I'll take you out for pizza when we get to the next stop. All of a sudden, they're quiet. That only works, though, if they really want it. If they could be like, I don't care about pizza, then they're not going to do it. Okay? So discipline, at the heart of it, underneath it all, has to be desire, want. You have to want the kingdom, want the covenant, want the relationship, desire these things, and then you want it, then the discipline will be there so that if I don't get control of me, that's the second part, which is owning it. You have to own that you can do it. You can own that you have all the power to do it. That's where the discipline comes from. You can't have any discipline if you don't think you can do it. You don't have any discipline if you think somebody else has to do it for you or you need somebody else, etc. Now, but in all of this, you need the coach, the teacher, to tell you how to do it correctly and to encourage you can do it. All right? I was a personal trainer as a part of the 50 million things I've done in my life. My job was to do those two things. Teach the person the correct way to use the machine or weight or exercise, and to keep saying, one more, you can do it. Come on, keep going. Don't quit. All right? So the teachers are good for those two things. You can do it, don't quit, and this is the right way to do it. Okay? This was not designed to be done without a structure to help you along the way, guide you, instruct you, like a coach. Okay? To remind you, you can do it. How many times have you heard me in the last year or two saying, you can absolutely, this is reality, and bring reality in. You can absolutely get there from where you are right now, because he would never open your heart and your mind to understand this if you couldn't. Okay? But sometimes you need a coach, okay, a teacher, a coach to remind you, because you forget. You think, I can't do it. But didn't I tell you can do it? Don't you know that he said that what's he teasing you? He opened your mind just to frustrate you? Ha ha, you can't get there. This is the Creator we're talking about. He loves you. And he pulled you out of where you were, knowing full well, I don't care what physical, emotional, handicaps you might have, challenges you might have, whatever. I don't care how young or old, I don't care any of that. You can get there from here. All right, so you need a coach to remind you that every now and then. I try to do that almost every Rosh Chodesh, right? Every Rosh Chodesh, I go, don't forget, this is another month, we're counting time, and you need to work on making sure that you're doing what you can, because you can get there from here. Okay? Can't do that. You can't self-motivate like that. Even the best top performers have coaches, trainers, somebody there to go, come on. The best top performers still have trainers and coaches in whatever discipline you're talking about. That's why they call it a discipline. Music is a discipline. Art is a discipline. Business is a discipline. Whatever. Sciences are disciplines because it takes discipline to focus that much attention to succeed. To pay that much attention to what has to get done because it's a lot of work and it's a huge commitment. And you're never going to get there without the desire. I'm not recommending the Olympics to anyone, but you've all seen it, you've all watched it, and you've heard, some of you, especially if you're blue, you like to listen to the stories, okay? Right? You like to hear about how they grew up and what town they were in and all that stuff. But in those stories, everybody should listen to those because you'll hear how much they gave up that they could have done like all the other children because they wanted this that badly. So they were willing to give up their life. That's just to get a little stupid gold thing on a chain. How much more should you be willing to give up all of your life to have forever life? Amen? And it's so hard. My family doesn't like it, and my friend. Really? Come on. Knock it off. How about those teenagers that gave up all the dating, all the socializing, all the everything to wake up at whatever time in the morning to get in however much they had to do for their physical sport, whatever it was, then to go to school, then to come out, do it again for another bunch of hours, just eat only certain foods, go to sleep early, wake up, do it again, miss their whole teenage life and all the other stuff because they wanted what they wanted. Don't you think their friends gave them grief? Oh, yeah. Oh, you think you're going to win a gold medal? Why don't you come out and hang out with us? Come on, you're not going to ever win. Come party with us. You think you got it so hard. Everybody that has ever really succeeded had to give up something. You know why you're not where they are? You're not willing to pay the price. Every success teacher out there, everybody who's ever made it has said simple. If you were willing to do what I did, you'd have what I have. But you're not willing. I'm not talking about somebody who inherited money or whatever. I'm talking about those people that started where you are and you sit there looking at yourself going, I don't know why they're so successful, because you're not willing to do what they did. All right? I've got a clip on my phone. Someone posted it on TikTok. It was Arnold Schwarzenegger. It was from his commencement speech. He says, look, you have 24 hours in a day. He says, and you sleep for 6 hours, so that gives you 18 hours to work. And he goes, well, some of you in the front row, you're making faces. He says, you probably think you need 8 hours to sleep. He says, well, sleep faster. That was his encouragement. He said, you know how I got to be the best? He says, I worked out for this many hours. I went to my job. I worked out. I went and then took night school classes for acting. I did all the, he worked all but the 6 hours. See, you know what it is? We're lazy. We are lazy. You don't want to push through. You want the greatest thing that's ever been offered and put in nothing to get it. That's why Christianity was so appealing. He does it all for you. Anything bad wasn't your fault, it was the devil's fault. What else could you want out of life? That was a religious spiritual term that, It's in 1 John somewhere. But you guys, Who said this? Did he ever promise you this was an easy journey? He said that you're going to suffer as he suffered. Messiah tells you that. But do you want it bad enough? Oh, but it's so hard. Well, then you're never going to get there. You could get there. You're not going to get there that way. You know, we're going to do a teaching maybe someday where I talk about weak versus strong. You guys are all weak. I'm not talking about your physical body. You're weak-minded, you're weak-hearted. There's a reason why Joshua was told, be strong and of good courage. Was he telling him, you're going to need to have your muscles, go work out, do some push-ups? He said, to go forward with this group of crazies, 2 million people, and you're going to go into the land, you're going to need strength in your mind and in your heart and courage, because this is not an easy job. Moses knew it. He had already done it for 40 years. You want to make it? You're going to have to figure out how to become strong inside. You know how you do that? Bring reality in. But the reality is I'm terrible and I've been a failure my whole life. No, that's your past. And that past was not in reality. You failed in delusion. In reality now you're going to succeed. You're now awake and living in reality. In the reality you can make it. In reality, you can do anything. I can do all things through Messiah who strengthens me. Amen. Is that reality? Or is that just words? Okay, so I'm not trying to pick on you to say that you're weak. You need to look in the mirror and say, okay, I own it. I am weak, but I'm supposed to be strong. And he called me, which means I can be strong. Oh, but it says the meek shall inherit the earth. Meek is simply quiet strength. All right? You're just as strong as the loud guy. You're just quiet about it. Probably more strong. A lot of the loud guys are weak and they're just loud. Okay? It's just a guy full of bluster. All talk, no action. All right? Why did Adam fail? Why did Chava fail? Because they had a moment of weakness. You see this problem? Why couldn't Hasatan do anything to Job? Because there wasn't any weak spots. He was strong. You understand now? Hasatan's looking for your weaknesses. Fill all of them with strength. There's nothing to work with. See what you started? All right? Hopefully you guys are understanding this. Make sense? We're good? If I was the type that writes books, or if I was to do a teaching, I may do a teaching that helps go through. We may have to read the entire book to do this. But it's basically going to be, the title is From Weakness to Strength, an Internal Journey. Okay? That's your life. Your life is from weakness. We all started off weak. Some of you are getting stronger. Some of you are still wallowing in the weakness. None of you have arrived. All of us, me too, right? So we're supposed to be. So if you want to get strong, if you're a physical, body, what do? You go to the gym. Okay, so I went to the gym last month. So am I strong now? Or do I have to keep going? Oh, so it's a daily thing. It's a regular thing. And by the way, if I want to stay strong, do I have to nourish the body too? So I got to watch what I'm putting in it. So to be spiritually strong, you got to watch what you're putting in it. Don't just look at the movies, look at the television, look at what you're listening to, look at the people that are inputting into you. How do you become a great physical condition? You manage your inputs and you practice the physical activities that make you strong. Now, that doesn't have to be bodybuilding. It could be like as any other athletic. Maybe you want to be fast. You're a runner. How do you get to be good at running? You practice running. Do you just run once a week? No, you're not going to get very much done if you're practicing once a week. I was going to say you're not going to get very far, but that was a kind of, okay. All right? Whatever physical thing, it's the same thing internally. Manage your inputs and work out every day. So when life deals with you something, you go, oh, this is part of my exercise program for the day. This is a workout. It's a workout in your mind and in your heart with your emunah. It's getting worked out every day. Praise Yah for the trials. That's your workout. Okay? Look at it as, yeah, it's your daily workout. Something comes up, good. I get to exercise today. Okay? Does that make any sense? All right? Because we are pathetically, because of the system we came out to, that we're like those that were in like prison camps who come out malnourished and weak and they can hardly walk and all that. That is what we're like inside. We barely can walk. Undernourished, depleted of all of our nutrients and what we need. And now we're starting to finally feed on this life-giving Torah, this life-giving word, and we're starting to get healthy again. Got to keep working at it, though. And by the way, this is better than the physical body because you know what? You get to a certain age and that workout's going to get really tough and you're going to have to alter it because your body just can't do what it could used to do. The inside stuff, you could do that to the day you die. Amen? I'm not saying you can't do physical till the day you die, but you won't. You know, if you're out there doing so many sets and so many reps, you're going to have to deal with the fact that your physical body isn't at 50 is not going to be the same as it was at 20. At 70, it's not. I know a guy who's in his 90s. Man, that guy swims every day and he works out every day. Everybody knows our good friend Fred. All right, he works out every day, but he can't do what he could do when he was like my age, and then I can't do what I could do when I was like, Christian's age. Okay. And so, because he's in college, he's a young guy, he can do all kinds of stuff I can't do anymore. So I'm just saying, but so internally though, there's nothing to restrain that as long as you're able to think and breathe. Work out every day, every day, every day. Amen? Amen. It's almost 6:30. I guess we're going to have to close it with that. So if you had more questions or comments, I apologize, but we're going to go ahead and close up here. I think that was a good way to close at this point. What you did it. Okay, good.
I almost said it for.
We love you.
Who was that? Was that you?